microphone over here. There's that funky slide guitar music. Comes on every Monday through Friday, live 5 in the Evil IP Network, Rumble X, YouTube, all that good stuff. Check us out, subscribe, type in iNewsWire or Roy Blecker. You'll see my nice, smiling, shining face. Lots of interesting stuff. They had a terrorist crash into a school. Fortunately, it appears only he was the only one who perished in that terrible terrorist incident there. Later on, trash truck closed down the 91 freeway for most of the morning and into the afternoon, partially, after it burnt square to the ground on the off-ramp there by Van Buren, I believe. And what a day. 2 stabbed down in downtown Riverside by the cop building courthouse in there. So Riverside was rocking and a-rolling all this morning with multiple incidents, as the thumb or their nose in the air media usually says. 10 projects from Newsom's mental health bond were supposed to open in 2025. Guess how many really opened? We'll get into that. The human trafficking bust the Riverside County did of kids being sex trafficked and whatnot. We'll get into that whole story here in a bit. Plus, we'll have some the governor's debate and all that good stuff coming up, the next one anyway. But unusual is somebody left a prosthetic leg on the bus. But let's get to the Christina Gonzalez report. Here we go.
Of anything and everything, and they probably have it here. You leave your phone on the metro train or the bus, in about 3 to 5 days, it ends up here. And you're not going to believe the kind of stuff they have in here. Take a look.
We have a replica of the Eiffel Tower here. A customer left it behind on our public transit system.
How would you like to be ready to sit down on the bus and have the Eiffel Tower rammed up your ass? Oh man, it gets wilder and more bizarre after this.
How did you forget that?
That's a question that we.
Yeah, how do you forget your Eiffel Tower? Look at how dangerous that thing is. I mean, got a long spike in it. Man, if that was like down on the floor and you went to sit down and got that tangled up in your nuts or your female parts, holy bejesus.
Ask ourselves, we have a surfboard, a pretty well used surfboard. You can also.
How do you leave your surfboard saxophone? That's a really nice saxophone too. But the surfboard, where the hell did you have it? Saxophone too, that's a pretty big, especially if it's in a case or even if it's not. Yeah, that's a pretty big items going. Eiffel Tower, saxophone.
See a saxophone, an LAUSD student left that behind on our public transit system.
And then there's the items that...
Here's the coup de grace.
Who forgets?
The items that really leave you puzzled. For example, we have this prosthetic leg that someone left behind at one of our stations.
A prosthetic leg. How do you forget your prosthetic leg? What were you doing with it? What were you taking it off for in the first place? And then how did you get off the bus? This is absolutely... I mean, how do you... Okay, I can see that even the surfboard. Okay, you left it over there, or maybe you propped it up, or maybe you set it down on the aisle or propped it up and just got in a big hurry and left. Your prosthetic leg, how'd you get out? What'd you do? Did it register in your mind that you're grabbing onto the side of the seats or something to get out of there? Let's roll some more.
How did that person get out of the bus or train without the prosthetic leg? Is the
No kidding. How'd they get out? I mean, it couldn't have been easy. Man, oh man, how do you... Some of the absolute weird stuff. It went on as you showed. Bicycles, they have the racks in the front. You can carry your bike while people leave. And that I can see. It's not with you or you don't have it beside you or whatever. You get off the bus and just go on your merry way. And then, although, what'd you bring your bike for? It's absolutely something else. The prosthetic leg, though. I mean, how does one forget that? Can you imagine? You go to sit down on the bus, and then all of a sudden, oh, somebody left their leg. No wonder no one. There's like 3 people, and they're all vagrants trying to sleep on the bus. They got to kick them off at 1 o'clock in the morning. The whole public transportation system is a total quagmire beyond any belief. Gulag Gavin Newsom. Some say we beat up on him too much, we're mean to him, all the ladies. He's so cute. Why do you have to always pick on him all the time? And we've heard the vagrants and the $100 billion we've heard and the promises, and we're going to fix it for 25 years. Since he's been mayor of LA, lieutenant governor, governor. We passed this on $7 billion. Oh, we're going to get housing for the vagrants or mental health. The ones who were doing that. 10 projects from Newsom's mental health bond that were supposed to open in 2025 that didn't happen. Oh, we would have never guessed this. 10 projects. We're going to put these on the fast track. We're going to have them out there built. We're going to give all these union jobs and all this and nonprofits, and there'll be no more vagrancy, just like he said in 2004 when he was mayor. And they passed Prop 63, the Tax the Rich White Boys Act. They're supposed to have this all fixed by 2009. Here we are, 22 years later, $100 more billion, probably about 125 now, and going higher. And the problem has blown up like Mount St. Helens volcano. And they still keep dumping more money down this. This is a con of all cons. When do we get off this stupid train? I guess that's the symbolism of the bullet train to nowhere we've dumped $20 billion in. I mean, you can check in, like Hotel of California. You can get on, but you can never leave. That's what this whole thing is about. You get on this stupid train we've been on in California. We checked into the Hotel of California. And we can never leave the stupidity and the theft and the outright criminality. I don't know what sort of zombie apocalypse we're living under, or what type of magic spell they're doing. But man, we got to dump this. Maybe Spencer Pratt does have a snowball's chance in hell of winning LA mayor. Maybe we do have a chance to get Steve and Chad in the top 2 in June. And get somebody in there that at least is not thoroughly frickin' evil. It's by far, the amount of theft. Well, just down in LA, the billionaires tax are giving $177 million in new grants to these nonprofits that are supposed to be housing the vagrants or the mentally ill. We're just flushing it down the frickin' toilet and enriching a few people to vacation on the Ritz and buy $1 million mansions off of our dime. While the sweat's dripping off of your balls and you're busting your ass to pay for all of this. Man, criminality doesn't even explain it. We'll get into more subjects that will absolutely blow your mind. I don't know more of someone leaving a prosthetic leg on the bus in LA. That blows my mind. Yeah, we'll get into the rest of the fun stuff today. Yes, we will. The news just keeps pouring in. Sometimes you don't know how you're all going to jam it all in there. But one of the things in the story kind of broke, but then it didn't. First, guys, and I believe Eddie George and Lori Kane of Hemedai News were the first ones to have the story of the 37 missing kids that were abused, sex trafficked, rescued around California. And then there's been a bunch of TikTok videos that are going off that are, trying to, let's say they're not 100% wrong, but they're not putting it in the 100% light it was either. But this is some of the pictures from Eddie George and Lori Kane when they were out, and they discovered it because first everybody was yelling ICE. They were in Hemet. That's where they're based out of, and people were yelling ICE and all that stuff. You see that, and it wasn't ICE. They were doing the kids rescue from abuse and sex trafficking in and around California. Now, the ironic thing is that most of the kids were found in Arizona, Northern California, and things like that. Here's the KTLA Fox 11 report. Goes to show how old I am. Here we go. We thought.
Have been safely recovered during a major operation in Riverside County. The effort, called Operation Safe Return, was led by the U.S. Marshals Service with the help from the California Department of Justice and local police. 37 children were found. Authorities say the operation focused on high-risk missing children and led to the arrests of 7 suspects.
What they don't mention again, Homeland Security was involved in this. Some of them that were sex trafficking and abusing were obviously run by the cartels and or illegal aliens. Whole host of law enforcement agencies, police departments, U.S. Marshals, Homeland Security, district attorneys. And there's a press release from the Sheriff's Department, which I believe could have been just my opinion. The sheriff's department could do a better job when they're explaining something like this. But there you see that Homeland Security, FBI, United States Secret Service, Riverside County Sheriff's Police, Highway Patrol, Banning, Beaumont, B&B, Murrieta, Antelope, Anaheim Police Department, LAPD, some of the groups that were on there, and they go about the 37 kids that were rescued, which we all are very grateful that they are at least out of those abusive environments, and hopefully they will be onto the road to recovery. That gets me to the next point of this. We've had the big case with the Turpin kids. Not only were they in the House of Horrors, which was bad enough, then some of the, 17 kids or whatever, was 12 kids or whatever they had, were sexually abused when they were put in the foster home under the care and control of Riverside County. And we still don't know what happened to the, almost $1 million in private donations that were sent in on top of whatever the county was doing. And I don't want to shed a negative light in what the sheriff's office and all the agencies did rescuing these 37 kids. But for crying out loud, we do not want to hear another deal like the Turpins. And then, especially in Riverside, LA County, we've heard the reports, especially coming out of here, of kids being sex trafficked under the control of the county. Whether it's Department of Social Services here or LA County, the juvenile hall systems. There's been gazillions in payouts, lawsuits. There's been evidence and allegations and rumors of kids being sex trafficked, foster kids while they were under the control counties such as Riverside, LA, and more. We had the Judge Larson report out here in Riverside County. And even after that, we had the Turpin thing blow up again, that case is just number one. Because after it came to light what the Turpin kids suffered in the House of Horrors in Paris, California, which is just a stone's throw away from where we're broadcasting. That should, not that it should make any difference, but the light of the world was shining on you, Riverside County, especially Department of Public Social Services, And you had another $1 million supposedly in donations and private donations on top of whatever you had. There shouldn't even been a hint of anything untoward going on with those kids. And then to have them sexually abused under the control of Riverside County. Is just, it's like how in the world does this happen? It's like we're in such a bizarro world around here. Especially in California. We spend $20 billion on a bullet train, and we lay tracks for conventional train tracks to get supplies from the regular train over to build the bullet train. We still have not laid one iota of track for the bullet train to actually ride on. At least that's all the information I have in every report I've been able to find. But the amount, I don't know. The hardness of your heart has to be off the charts to let this stuff go. This stuff has been reported on, insinuated, whistleblowered on for decades. And it seems like nothing or very little ever gets done. I mean, for crying out loud, we basically made streetwalkers legal in California. And who's running them? The Mexican and the Chinese cartels mostly, or the pimps now. We went from bad to worse. And it seems like we never get a hand. Not that we don't get a handle on it, we seem to make it worse. Just like with the vagrants, for every one that might get help, there's 27,000 of them that show up that are making the problem worse. And now we're the vagrant capital of the world. You know, with the gas crisis going on, we had the deal on yesterday. We reported on it 10 years ago when they were having a hissy fit because the majority of the AQMD board members were saying, hey, we got to stop this or we ain't going to have any refineries left in California. Moonbeam Brown with his lieutenant at the time, Newsom, Kevin De Leon, which was running the Senate and all that, and the Sierra Club and the Tree Huggers and the Eco Freaks all got sued, stomping up and down and everything, and now we're down to 7 refineries going to 5 to 4, then 3, 2, 1 out. And when we were out, you're gonna rue for the day of $5 a gallon gas. We don't ever seem to deal with these problems. But we will, by hook or crook, one way or the other. When the S totally hits the fan and it collapses everything, like with the billionaires tax, you know, when you run those guys out, which are paying almost all of the income taxes collected, which is like, what, $100 billion or something? When they bail out, then guess who they're going to be getting that money from next when that pot is dry? Speaking of the tech bros, billionaires, here's Gary Tan. He's the one pushing Matt Mahan. He's the one that strong-armed him into running for governor. He's a tutti frutti to the max. I'm supporting Scott Wiener for Congress because he's delivered on the hard stuff. Yes, in my backyard, standing up to dysfunction, fighting for San Francisco and the works. We don't agree on everything, but back leaders who show up, take tough votes, and on. Scott Wiener, champion of the boys and girls sports and bathrooms and having them people just walking around nude in San Francisco and nothing you can do about it. And the gender, you know, trying to turn boys into girls and the whole LGBTQ radical BS. And the yes in my backyard. As Matt Mahan, like Gary Tan said, oh, we're going to do just like Mahan. We're on that factory-built housing. They want you, they're going to put you in the projects. If you think I'm kidding, they have your future. You're lucky if you're going to have a 200 square foot hovel and a 100 foot high rise in Riverside freaking County. Not to mention LA. The only thing Matt Mahan can hang his hat on is he did support Prop 36. But that's the only thing that separates him from the others of the Icky Eight. It's more just impossible. And you don't think it even gets worse than this? Is from the California Globe of Katie Grimes. Why California has an oil crisis and China's involvement, the California Air Resources Board has been using Chinese research to bolster their corrupt and dishonest climate policies. California Governor Gavin Newsom is destroying the state's oil and gas industry and appears to be deliberate. Newsom is presiding over perhaps the largest collapse of the oil industry, refinery operation, and gasoline production in U.S. history. This is why we played it 10 years ago yesterday. We posted about the last of the few sane people that were on the California Air Resources Board that they finally gutted. Now we know Gavin Newsom, Buffoon Bass, Corey Jackson, Ulysses Cabrera, and all these nutcases, Isaac Bryan, Kevin De Leon, Robert Rivas, and the list goes on. They're under the control of the Chinese Communist Party. Why do you think we gave $2 billion to a Chinese company for 250 grand worth of masks in the COVID con? That's so they can come up here and close down the refineries, because China knows we take down California, we're taking down the U.S. We'll cut their oil off, we'll cut their water off. We'll drive that expensive homes and everything. They'll make it so incredulous that California collapses, and then we'll sweep in and take over everything. We're seeing the results of that 10 years later. And the phony reports. Mary Nichols, whose name's on the car building down in Riverside on Iowa Street, did the phony report that started all this. Phonier than a $3 bill, we're all going to die from diesel smoke. She sued in Riverside in '72. When I was still in middle and elementary grade school here in sunny Mead at the time. Oh, we're all going to die. She sued Riverside, and that really started the environmental stuff off. And we name a building after a witch who's hosing us with the Chinese Communist Party on phony information that wasn't even close, and they're still doing it today. And who's been backing this play for 10, 20, 50 years? The Chinese Communist Party. Hopefully we'll wake up and smell the coffee. And it won't be, and we will stop this madness. You know, whenever you hear these little acronyms or that Western Climate Initiative, you know, Center for Biological Diversity, and all this other crapiola. And it's all based on fraud and a bunch of lies. Like I said, in a weird way, I grew up in all this freaking turmoil. And actually know these people and saw it and lived it. And sometimes it's, I wonder why you're out there waving the flag, the red flag. And most of the time, people are just ignoring it. They never could come up with one
40
clause
seconds, 40 seconds.
on that stuff. Yet, you're going to be paying $10 a gallon soon in California for gas. We'll pick up on some of this and a few more, as Jesse said, when we join the Mighty Met KMET here in a few seconds. But when gas is $10 and electricity's so high you can't even charge your 3x5 screen, then what the hell are you going to do?
5 seconds, here we go.
After the fact is usually too late.
Today, IE Newswire Daily is on the air.
The following is a paid program. Views and claims expressed are those of the program producer and are not endorsed by this station. Opinions expressed are not necessarily those of radio station KMET, its management, employees, or affiliates.
There's that funky slide guitar music that comes on every Monday through Friday live at 5:30 in the Mighty Met, 1490 AM. Broadcasting all over the Inland Empire in the 4-inch AM band, joining our vast video audience in the ULP Network, YouTube. Check us out, subscribe, type in IE Newswire, Roy Bleckert. You'll see my nice, smiling, shining face on that. Yeah, the lead story of the day. Go check that out on IE Newswire. If you're missing a prosthetic leg, LA Metro may have it. Yeah, we ran the Christina Gonzalez Fox 11 report. They did all the missing stuff they find in LA Metro. Obviously, the most bizarre one, somebody left a prosthetic leg. How did they get off the bus? You didn't notice that you had to grab on a leg of that? That one just, besides being a little on the creepy side, man, that's a mind twister like you've never seen before. Went in depth as 37 kids that were rescued, that were abused, sex trafficked, and we don't want to, congratulations to Riverside County Sheriff's Department, DA, and all the other agencies that did that. And hopefully those kids won't be abused like the Turpin kids of the House of Horrors, which after they lived through that living hell with their parents, then when they got under the control of Riverside County in foster care, they were abused, sexually abused again. That we have to take care of. There should be nothing else that's really dealt with. And this stuff has been going on, I believe, in a lot of people. Most people that have been around it have seen it, lived it. We sex traffic. Tell me I'm wrong. Jeff Van Wegelen or whomever, Sheriff Chad, DA Hestron, come in here and prove me wrong. You're sex trafficking kids out of the county of Riverside, just like they're doing in LA. We've had reports of it. I want you to tell the young ladies that have said that they are wrong, or that didn't happen. And I'd like you to come in and rest assured that everybody that's not happening today, we had the Turpin case. If any case of anything should have never happened the second time under the control as that, with everybody looking at that one. Absolutely, as they say, incredible. Along with the CARB and the phony reports, and we done it 10 years ago, how they done the regulations and we're down to refineries. Greg Katie Grimes has it on California Globe. Yeah, they've all been under the control of the Chinese Communist Party. And they have been doing this. They have been doing this because they know if they take down California, they take over the U.S. That's why they're raising your gas price up. They're shutting out the water, killing your crops, the most productive farmland in the entire world, making it chaotic to live, more expensive, just frustrating everybody to hell. And then when it all collapses, they will walk in without firing a shot. You know who they learned that from? Was Reagan and the Soviet Union. They didn't come up with it, they're just copying what he did. We got another California governor's debate shaping up next month, and that's when the campaigns will really start kicking into high gear. KTLA announced that the top candidates to face off in California governor's debate, April 22nd, are the spy, Eric Swalwell, the absolutely odious and hated Tom Steyer, Republicans Steve Hilton and Chad Bianco, which we're all rooting for to get in the top two, and this is going to be the first one to try and do that. Now, they did invite Katie Porter because she scored 9% in their poll. They didn't invite Matt Mahan because he was only at 2 or 3%. Not that they couldn't add him in. That's going to be curious. But notice who's missing out of the picture. Psycho chick Katie Porter. Now, they did include her, I thought, in the short 30-second video they had, I believe, so let's roll that.
KTLA and Nexstar Media Group are proud to announce today Debate Night in California, the race for governor, coming to you on April 22nd, live from San Francisco. It'll be co-moderated by our very own Frank Buckley, featuring the top polling candidates for governor, including Eric Swalwell, Chad Bianco, Tom Steyer, and Steve Hilton, who have all accepted the invitation to appear. Much more on this in the coming days. Again, Debate Night.
Notice they didn't show Psycho's Katie Porter's picture again, but they did give her a mention in the promo, although they didn't show anyone. But you know as well as if you haven't figured it out, you will soon figure it out. The reason they were going to go at 10% if you weren't, that poll, that latest one out, that poll from Emerson was contracted by Nexstar, KTLA5, and their television stations. And that's who and they figured they better invite Psycho Chick Porter or they would never hear the end from her. So they dropped it down. She was actually really at 8.4 and they said 9%. But here's an interesting critique by Eric Spellman on KTLA5, one of the Nexstar affiliates that's going to be hosting the debate. Here we go.
A poll from Inside California Politics and Emerson College. It shows Democrat Eric Swalwell is gaining momentum in the crowded 2026 race for governor and in the race for LA mayor. The contest is wide open. 1 out of every 2 Angelenos still undecided. KTLA's Eitan Wallace is live at the state capitol with a closer look at the results. Eitan, good morning.
Hey, Eric, good morning to you and everybody in Southern California. And indeed, the analysts I spoke to for this report say this is not the news the Bass campaign wanted to see. But those analysts also make clear there is still time in the race for mayor and in the race for governor for candidates to reach those key undecided voters.
Let us start today. Thank you.
Democrat Eric Swalwell,
Restore that California dream.
And Republican Steve Hilton. As it stands today, those two are in the top 2 in the race for California governor.
Right there, that's as false as heck, and if we don't get to it today, we'll get to it tomorrow. Swalwell, at best, can be in the second position if you do the averages, but we're going to show you how they're cooking the polls to try and elevate Swalwell or Steyer or Katie Porter on this whole deal. But here we go. Oops. Here we go.
That is according to this exclusive Inside California Politics and Emerson College poll surveying 1,000 registered California.
That's just one poll. That's their poll, which we'll get into. I said yesterday, it's a little sus. Well, a lot sus, but we'll get into that later.
Voters. The survey results showing Swalwell leads with just over 17%, with Hilton behind him at just over 13%. Riverside County Sheriff Republican Chad Bianco is in third with just over 11%, and about half a point behind him, Democrat Tom Steyer. Meantime, Democratic former Orange County Congressmember Katie Porter rounds out the top five with nearly 8.5%. All of the other candidates are polling at about 3% or lower.
The one thing you can say right now is you'd rather be Eric Swalwell than anybody else in this race.
Even so, Claremont McKenna College professor of government Jack Pitney makes clear this race is still an open one, with the survey showing nearly 25% of voters are still undecided.
That's going to be a key statistic. In this poll by Emerson, if we don't do it today, hopefully we'll get to it tomorrow, we'll show you how they're weighting it to favor the Democratic candidates, especially Steyer and Swalwell, to the detriment of guess who? Chad Bianco and Steve Hilton. The Emerson poll, in my opinion, is a cooked poll. We'll get into that in a bit.
80 days out from the June 2nd primary.
This is all far from over. It's early yet. It's March. Most Californians aren't political junkies. They're not thinking too hard about the governor's race yet.
He says that's especially true because this race lacks candidates with the same amount of name recognition seen in previous gubernatorial contests.
We had an election not that long ago that featured the biggest name in the world, Arnold Schwarzenegger. And it's no disrespect to any of the candidates to say you're no Arnold Schwarzenegger.
It all comes just over a week since California Democratic Party Chair Rusty Hicks wrote this open letter urging lower polling Democratic candidates not to run for governor amid concerns the crowded field of Democrats could split the vote, resulting in the top two Republicans.
So there's, again, is the Roy plan. Top two in June. We win this in June, as it shows. And now everybody's talking about it. Remember all of 25 when I was bringing this out? Practically everyone said I was crazy, didn't know what I was talking about, would never happen. Now it's on any political newscast, practically, that deals with the governor's race, is talking about the possibility of Chad Bianco and Steve Hilton making it out as the top two. And how the Democrats are all on their Twitter, using that old phrase, about how, hey, this is going to happen. And this is why they're trying to cook the polls. This is why they're trying to narrow the field and focus people in. Because they're in April, really, because May 5th, I think, is voting actually starts. So that's only like 10 days before actual voting starts in the race. So people, the lower propensity voters are starting to focus in or starting to pay attention. They're going to be getting their ballots in about 10 days. They're going to start covering it. So that's why they're trying to set the deck chairs of this. So Chad Bianco and Steve Hilton are not the top two. Here we go.
Steve Hilton and Chad Bianco advancing to the November general election.
Not the likeliest outcome, but it is probable enough so that Democrats are a little nervous. And
Jack Pitney, the famed fossil over there from Claremont College that everybody quotes around here, at least in the IE, when it comes to politics stuff. So, oh, that'll never happen. Impossible. You know, this is a blue state. You cannot get it. Don't even talk about it. Some crazy nut brought this up, and it's just no way it can happen. Well, the perfect scenario is lighting off. I couldn't have drawn it up any better. Two Republican candidates, the Icky Eight. No, as you say, even as Pitney says, you have no star power among the Icky Eight. So they know they're in a heap of trouble, boy. And they ain't liking it. Which brings a smile to my face.
It should be.
In the race for LA mayor, the poll finds incumbent mayor Karen Bass leading with 19.5%, followed by actor Spencer Pratt at just over 10%, and Los Angeles City Council member Nithya Raman rounding out the top three at just over 9%. Most striking, though, more than half of Angelenos say they are still undecided.
This is not what I would want to see if I am the incumbent Mayor Bass here, 20% on the initial ballot.
This is a referendum on Karen Bass, and if you're only polling under 20%, you've got a problem.
No S, Jack. Buffoon Bass, an incumbent that's only that has not only been a mayor for 3 years, was a congressman, for like 12 years or 10 years, and in the assembly 10 or 12 years before that. She's a well-known commodity. And people are only going 20%, 51%, it's 50.9. See how they play with the numbers? They were even trying to put Chad in fourth place when he was ahead of Starr because he had 11.4 versus 10.9 for Starr. But they were actually, until people started calling him out, they were actually putting Steyer ahead of Bianco in their own poll. KTLA 5 is totally in the tank for the Chinese Communist Party. Prove me wrong, anybody. KTLA 5 is welcome to come in and prove me wrong. Because you're biasing it. You're scared to death. And like I said, up until this point, I thought Karen Bass was going to get 50% in the June primary, 50% plus one, and it'd be over. Spencer Pratt can hold her, and the rest of them can hold her below 50, and Spencer Pratt gets in there. He's got a chance. Especially if it's Steve and Chad on the top of the ticket. The Democratic Party's going to be suppressed. And I can't... Only in a few places LA's won, I could see where they would elect an out-and-out communist, which Karen Bass is, and go to her Cuba associations from 40 years ago. And then she burns your town down. Why do you think she did that? Again, she's been part of the crew with Gavin Newsom stuff to destroy California. So they've only issued 20... It's been over a year. They've only issued 25 permits. Has it been 10,000 homes destroyed by the fire? They've only issued 25 permits. Oh, yeah, they're going to have Gary Tang, Matt Mahan, Gavin Newsom. They're going to have barrios, hatcheries, the projects. Right in Pacific Palisades, right in Malibu. Get to the signature gathering that we brought yesterday. More broke out on that. Here we go.
To sign multiple petitions. Then he took that video to social media to share what he witnessed and expose the illegal gathering of signatures.
Fox 26's Madison Wilbur spoke with the man who recorded the video and is here to tell us more about how this type of crime could affect measures on the ballot. Madison?
Well, in California, it is illegal to provide someone an incentive to sign a ballot or to vote, like giving them money. In the video you're about to see, you can hear that offer being made.
Right here?
I don't know. Neighbors in San Francisco being offered $5 to sign a petition. We're going to play the video again and listen closely to the woman in the background.
Right here?
I don't know. San Francisco neighbor J.J. Smith was biking down the street when he saw a long line of people.
I started asking the woman, what is this for? She just said, I give you $5 if you sign this. I'm hearing on the right side of me that one lady told the gentleman, you already did 2 of them, do another one. She started talking to somebody on the left side of me, and she was coaching them what name to write, what address and what city to put down. I knew right then and there that was fraudulent.
No kidding. JJ knew. JJ picked that up right off the get-go. That's phonier than a $3 freaking bill.
Reached out to one of the petition leaders these organizers were collecting signatures for. And in a statement sent to us from Californians for a More Transparent and Effective Government, they said they want to emphasize their campaign does not tolerate this type of activity in the signature gathering process. They said they've taken immediate action and have demanded the signature gathering firm identify these people and reject their petitions. They say their campaign attorneys are contacting authorities. They also pointed out the people in the video are circulators or subcontractors for petition gathering firms and are not directly affiliated with their campaign in any way.
Before we get to Paul Mitchell, that reads to me, my interpretation is, oh crap, we've been caught. This has been a known thing. Here's Paul Mitchell. He's posted on the X machine about it. Here he is talking about it here.
Spoke to a political analyst, Paul Mitchell, who helped to explain how this works.
It involves individual firms, just a few in the state and the country, that get hired for sometimes tens of millions of dollars to collect these signatures.
And it doesn't stop there.
There's this kind of pyramid scheme of contractors and subcontractors to get down to the person at the street level who's actually taking the signatures at the Trader Joe's.
Mitchell said these people were most likely trying to make some money and run, and that these signatures never would have counted or hurt any voters, since the signatures would not match records on file.
Everybody across the spectrum understands both that these signatures would not have counted towards the qualification, but also that the folks who are running these statewide ballot measures haven't done their due diligence to stop this kind of practice from happening.
We also reached out to the California Secretary of State to ask if they were aware of the situation, to which they replied they are aware and investigating the matter.
We can be outraged that this is happening, but also be comforted that these signatures would not have qualified.
Which brings us to...
How the hell do we know that? We don't, as corrupt as everything is in our system, especially the registrar of voters and our voting deal, how do we know that a lot of these have not been done and everybody just said, oh yeah, that signature's good?
To our accountability question, does the California Secretary of State actively monitor signature gatherers to ensure compliance with applicable laws and regulations? The Secretary of State's office replied, under California law, it is illegal to give money or other valuable consideration to another in exchange for their signature on an initiative petition. The California initiative process is an important part of our democracy, and those who abuse our system will be held accountable. Smith.
How many times do we have to get to where they don't answer the question? The question is, are you monitoring? How do we know that all these are coming in? This probably isn't this firm's first rodeo, and if they've qualified petitions before, the answer is no. We don't give a crap. If they're shoveling campaign cash in front of us, or brown paper bags are showing up at our back porch, or front porch, or side porch, we don't care.
Said he was contacted by the state after he posted the video.
Well, they asked me how much information I knew on the people that was actually doing this, and I just told them this is the first time I've seen them at that location, but I have seen groups of them previously. This is hurting democracy.
I have seen groups of them previously. Paul Mitchell's been saying it. It's been well known for a long time. And we're supposed to trust our voting system run by the California Secretary of State or Register of Voters. You know, how many times do we got to get hosed under the workbench? Before we say enough and fight back. maybe 2026 will be the year we finally get our S together. Let's hope the sands of the hourglass don't run out on us before we figure this out. And then you're jammed in here, then you're looking at a Venezuela situation, or even worse. Like I said, this is all being run and prove me wrong by the Chinese Communist Party. And again, their plot has always been, they take a very long view. You talk about driving past the hood ornament, they're looking clear across the world and beyond. And they know they got nothing but time. If they don't do it today, they'll do it next week or 6 months or 2 years or 2 decades from now. Man. So I'm going to run one of my other studies in human behavior. 1 year ago today was the day my mom passed away. And I ran the experiment on there of, hey, people watched the end of the show. I said, watch the end of the show. And I think maybe I got 1 comment. So I'm going to do another one. In fact, I'm not even going to mention it this year. I'm just going to say, if you watch to the end of the show, just put in the comments. Or if you're listening on KMET, go back in. Just put in the comments on iNewsWire. It's on my personal site on FB or on Rumble. Just put end. I want to see how many people really pay attention. And it's always been my contention, and I've said people only really care about themselves most of the time. And most of my studies in human behavior have pretty much proven that out. Because how could we let all these other things in society go? Like your own government, you that sanction it and financing it, sex trafficking kids and just abusing them and torturing them. And we let that stuff go. Not to mention their education's in the tank and all the other stuff and all the things the lies we tolerate, the crap you just seen we tolerate. Oh, $5 a gallon of gas isn't good enough, we'll take 10. Just because you're selling me a bill of goods, or you say, you're going to con me into, I'm going to take care of you. Oh yeah, they're going to take care of you. But their definition of it is much different than yours. So we'll see how this year's experiment runs. And maybe we'll give a report on it when we come in on Monday. We might run one more tomorrow. But as we say, for whatever this weekend here just had a lot of dates that coincided with a lot of interesting events in my life. That'll do it for today. As we usually say at this time, mandatory you're back here in 23 hours wide, the best darn show in the whole wide world. Till then, see ya!
All right. Have a great night.
You got it.